Great. My name is Chad Gilfillan. Welcome again. I'm Senior Vice President, Investment Banking at Red Cloud. Continuing on with our theme, we have a very interesting copper story advanced. I'd like to introduce President CEO of Cordoba, Sarah Armstrong-Montoya, to walk through that story, and look forward to following up with questions at the end.
Thank you, Chad. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sarah Armstrong-Montoya. I'm the CEO of Cordoba Minerals Corp. And here with me today, I have Mark Gibson. He is our Chief Operating Officer, and we'll be running you through the presentation. So Cordoba is a company that is listed on both the TSXV and the OTC, and we are a copper gold development company with district scale exploration potential. So we have an extremely experienced management team with a demonstrated track record of discovery. We're part of the Ivanhoe Group. Our two main shareholders are Ivanhoe Electric, which is formerly HBX, and our Chinese shareholders, JCHX. Ivanhoe Electric is sitting today at around 60%, and JCHX have 19.9%, and they also have an anti-dilution right. We have two flagship projects. One is the Perseverance project, which is a copper exploration project, and that is in Arizona. And then we have the San Matias project in Colombia, which the El Alcaran deposit also forms part of that, and that is a copper, gold, and silver development project. Both Colombia and Arizona are very underexplored. Colombia, I think, for obvious reasons, with over 40 years of conflict. Arizona is another part of the world that has a lot of potential, and I think around 10% of the world's copper comes from Arizona. We have a pre-feasibility study well underway at the El Alcaran deposit, and we are on track to complete that by the end of this year. We have excellent potential for discovery of new porphyry deposits at the San Matias project, and we will be restarting exploration at Perseverance in the third quarter of this year to identify the concealed porphyry system. So as I mentioned, we are listed on both the TSX and the OTC. We have 60 million shares outstanding. Our share price is a little bit lower than it was of June 7th. Unfortunately, we're sitting at around 90 cents with a market cap would be a little bit less than what's presented there. On the right-hand side, as I just previously mentioned, you can see our shareholding with Ivanhoe Electric and JCHX. So our management team, both Mark and myself, have been with the group for over 10 years in various companies. Mark has over 30 years experience in the natural resources sector and is concurrently serves as a COO for Ivanhoe Electric and Kaizen Discovery. And importantly, Mark was the founding CEO of High Power Exploration, which was our former largest shareholder, which is now Ivanhoe Electric. Chris Cans, our CFO, has been with us with the group for over 5 years, and Charles Forster, our VP of Exploration, also a long time employee of the group, and importantly was part of the discovery team for the Oyu Tolgoi deposit and discovery in Mongolia. We have an extremely technical and experienced board of directors. Eric Finlayson was our interim CEO for a couple of years, and he continues on as our chairman of the board. Most of our other directors have sort of 30 to 40 years experience in the industry. And then we have Luis Valencia, who is our Colombian representative and over 14 years experience in the private sector. So as an overview on the San Matias project, as mentioned, it is copper, gold, and silver development project. It's a large open pit resource with indicated 1.6 billion pounds of copper equivalent at 0.64%. We have a very low strip ratio of 0.01 to 1. And importantly here, the pre-feasibility studies that we're currently undertaking confirm that this low strip ratio still remains around this amount. The PEA that we did in 2019 outlined a 23-year mine life with a staged ramp up to 24,900 tons per year of copper equivalent production. As I mentioned, we are well advanced on the pre-feasibility study, and we're looking to complete that by the end of the year. And just as a side note here, I think is important, we're concurrently doing the the equivalent studies in Colombia, which are required to license the project to be able to build and construct a mine. They are the equivalent of the pre-feasibility study in Canada, and we're also on track with those. We do have a massive land package. We have in total around 201,000 hectares. That's a combination of actual titles and applications. We have most of the Cordoba region where our project is locked up, as well as some applications in other areas. We also have excellent government and community relations. I think importantly, we've made a huge effort to establish relationships from grassroots up with all of the different government entities. And that's been extremely beneficial and helpful in advancing the project forward. So San Matias is 100% owned by Cordoba. Within the San Matias project, as I mentioned before, we have the Alalacrine deposit. So I guess it's kind of like the Alalacrine is kind of like the hole in the donut, if you will, within the San Matias project. And that was formerly subject to an option. A local Colombian company owned the Alalacrine deposit. We had an option over that and have been working and operating on the Alalacrine deposit since 2015, and we acquired 100% of Alalacrine last year. And Alalacrine is actually where we're doing the pre-feasibility study. Here's our large land package that I just mentioned. We are located 160 kilometers north of Medellin. We have paved highways going to the project, apart from the last 21 kilometers, which is gravel road. However, it's in very good state. I mentioned before our indicated resources. Inferred, it's 41 million pounds of copper equivalent at 0.39%. And also I touched on the fact that the PEA was done in 2019, starting off with 8,000 tons per day open pit mining, increasing to 16,000 tons per day by year 6. We're currently undertaking some trade-off studies in relation to this, and Mark will speak to that in a little bit. On the pre-feasibility study, we have actually completed all of our pre-feasibility study drilling. So now we're just completing the final studies and on target still for the end of the year. So here again, as I mentioned, starting off at 8,000 tons per day, increasing to 16,000 tons per day by year 6 with a 0.67% copper equivalent. I think to note here is the very low cash cost there is for copper at $1.15, especially taking into consideration the price of copper today. And with this PEA study, we had a low initial capex of $161.4 million with an after-tax NPV of 8%. So if I can pass over to you, please, Mark, to discuss on the studies for the PFS.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So the PEA was robust and, as Sarah said, gave us good economics at modest upfront capital, but still the several areas of improvement which we've been looking at with trade-off studies. The first has been the resource, where we've been looking at new definitions of the base of saprolite, transition and the top of fresh rock material. That's going to feed through to an updated and improved resource. And we're going to see more fresh material, and that's got better recoveries. On the recoveries themselves, we put out a press release a few weeks ago that said that we are comfortably exceeding all of the recoveries that we assumed in the PEA. So we're up to 90% copper, 85% gold, which is the bulk of the mineralization. And that again is going to have a positive impact on any resource update that we put out. We've been doing a lot of geotechnical rock mass characterization, and that's fed through to the mine design, where we're going to see improved bench design and potential for excavating more material. And most importantly, the throughput studies that Sarah alluded to. When we did the study in 2019, the market wanted to see modest capital. Now capital is much more available, and as a result, we're looking at starting even at 16,000, 20 or 24,000 tons per day. So that's going to have a big trade-off between upfront capital, OPEX, and the NPV of the project. Last but not least, the PA assumed a conventional tails facility, and we've now been looking at whether thickened tails is possible. I'm pleased to report that it is. We're now looking at the trade-off between the two, and that potentially is going to feed through to, again, lower capex, but most importantly, better safety because of the geotech characterization of thickened tails. Next slide, please, Sarah. The resource itself, we've actually got a really good endowment in the San Matias district. We've got exposed porphyries, we've got a suspected buried porphyry, we've got stratiform mineralization, which is carbonate base metal type. We've got high-grade upgraded structures, but we've also got these extremely high-grade carbonate base metal veins. We intersected nearly 4,000 grams per ton in 2017, but unfortunately we were not able to get a predictable model along strike or down dip of continuity of grade. And as a result, this has had to be excluded from the resource. A top cut has been applied. So essentially this mine will actually mine more gold than we're predicting because you can't evaluate these things currently. Future exploration will try and refocus on these, but so far this has had to be excluded from the resource. And even a modest amount of this material, 50,000 tons, would contain over 1 million ounces. So it's a prize worth looking more for. Back to you, Sarah.
Oh, one more for you, Mark.
Oh, sorry, yes, thank you. So just to touch a little bit on exploration, I mentioned that we've got 4 different types of deposit that we're looking for here, and only 1% of our tenements have been explored to date. So with 2,500 square kilometers to go, there's plenty of potential for new discoveries of each of these types: new porphyries, new carbonate-based metal types, new replacement types. We're also seeing evidence of skarns. And so this is going to be a focus of the company as we move forward in the region. Sarah.
Great. So we have 12 communities within the area of interest. We have very good relations with the communities. We have social programs in place for short, medium, and long-term plans. We will need to relocate 3, maybe 4 of the communities. One community in particular is sitting right on top of where we're going to have the pit. So we've been working with all of the relevant government agencies and putting a plan into place for the relocation of the communities that will need to be relocated. Within our current social work, we have, as you can see, a long list here, but we include sort of programs in relation to education, infrastructure, health, women's programs. One of the, I think very importantly, is where possible and where they meet the requirements, we have a dedicated team to formalize the artisanal miners. So effectively we legalize them, we teach them best practices, no more use of sort of mercury, environmental best practices as well. And that's working very well to date. And as I said, we do have a dedicated team solely to legalize where we can the artisanal miners, who in some cases have been there for 30 years. And we also obviously have with the advancement of the project, we will have a lot of employment opportunities for the community, I guess, within the municipality. And we currently have about 150 people from the community employed. Mark, if I can pass back to you, please.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. So this is the second major project as part of Cordoba's portfolio. It's in the United States. We have already earned in 25%, and we have the option to go up to 80% of the property. For Arizona, it's a good sized property at 13,000 acres, and it's in a great part of the country, as I'll show you in a moment. So next slide, please. So the location is fairly close to Kingman. We have this earn-in agreement with Bell Copper. It's also a TSX listed company. And it's as part of the Arizona Volcanic Arc. It's a host of very major deposits there. So Baghdad, Morenci are both along the strike from this, as well as Rio Tinto's Resolution. And it's a very simple concept that Bell Copper have come up with over the years. Previous workers include Rio Tinto, who had an option on the project, and a bulk of information that gives us a good vector to where we think this porphyry fragment lies. Next slide, please, Sarah. So the location, it's at the western end of the transition zone between the Colorado Plate and the Basin and Range faulting. Basin and Range is important in this area because it has complicated previous exploration, and that's why this area has been unexplored. There's an awful lot of gravel around. The faults associated with the Basin and Range have essentially buried the porphyry potential underneath those gravels. We like that because high power exploration, we're focused on undercover exploration, and so Cordoba, as our subsidiary, has had access to our team and our technology, and as a result we've been taking this forward in a collaborative manner. Next slide, please, Sarah. The concept is very simple. The yellow area that you see in the bottom left there is an exposed porphyry root. This has been known about for over 100 years. It's been mapped, it's been sampled, but everyone has assumed that at the base of a porphyry, sitting at the top of a mountain, and therefore the porphyry's gone. We think that with the faulting associated with basin and range, it's actually been carried into the valley that you see on the top right there. And the drilling started close to that, and it's been progressively getting deeper and deeper as we go into that valley. We've been using geophysics to try and get a better vector. And the next holes we are very confident are going to target the center of those geophysical anomalies to see what they represent. One more slide, Sarah. Yeah. So this was the last hole. It showed very clear evidence of a nearby porphyry copper deposit. We intersected very low-grade mineralization over wide ranges, lots of chalcopyrite in certain veins, hydrothermal upgrading. All of these things tell us we're close by. And so the next round of drilling will be targeting those geophysical anomalies. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Mark. So in summary, here are our targeted milestones. So as mentioned, we're on track to complete the pre-feasibility study by the end of this year. Our idea is to start actually in the last quarter, and also probably close to December if we can, feasibility study, and complete that by the end of Q4 in 2022, with detailed design in 2023 and mine construction starting at the beginning of 2024. Importantly, in Colombia, we are a PIN, which is a project of national interest. So there is the possibility that our permits and approvals required here for building and constructing the mine are somewhat fast-tracked. So that timeline may be shortened a little bit. And as Mark mentioned, we will be drilling at Perseverance in Q3 of this year. So reasons to invest with Cordoba. We have at San Matias a potential long life copper, gold, silver mine life with low capex and opex. We are advancing towards PFS and we'll have it completed by the end of this year. Discovery potential across massive property. As we mentioned, we have over 200,000 hectares locked up. And also at Perseverance, we have the potential for a sizable porphyry system. And we have a very strong team, a management team, and also proven exploration and development team. So thank you for that. And Chad, I'll pass it back over to you to see if there's any questions.
No, great. Thank you, Sarah and Mark, for a very thorough presentation. I guess operating in Colombia, and the headlines you see, countries like Chile and Peru, with political movements and threats to mining, and some headlines in Colombia as well. Can you maybe Sarah, you being based in Medellin, just kind of your thoughts on the country and support for mining? Sure.
Actually, the Colombian government is in full support of mining, and I would definitely say that they're open for business. President Duque came out and said that he considers mining as one of the main the way that the Colombian economy is going to recover from the pandemic. And for us personally, we've had really good support from the government, from grassroots up, from local, municipality, departmental, and all the way up to the national levels of government. So for us, it's been very good.
And then on that same line, I guess it looks like we have a good size open pit, and hopefully it looks like it might get bigger. So how about open pit mining in the region? Is there precedence? What can you comment on that? Maybe Mark, for you?
Certainly, we're only 20 kilometers away from a very substantial open pit operated by South 32. That's Cerro Matoso. Originally, that was a BHP nickel operation, now owned by South 32. There's also a new coal operation that's going to be driving a thermal power plant. That's about 15 kilometers to our north. So Cordoba is one of the provinces in Colombia where you can definitively develop and operate an open pit.
I think it'd be useful for everybody, having sat in a number of meetings, just for explanation, just kind of, HBX's size of their holding, and now named Ivanhoe Electric, just kind of the history of ownership, and even, what is Ivanhoe Electric from a very high level, would be, I think, be helpful for people to understand how it fits within Cordoba.
Do you want to take this one, Mark?
Yeah, certainly. So HPX has been around since 2008. It was founded on the basis of undercover exploration, using new technologies in geophysics and AI. Through the last decade, we've built up a portfolio of projects. Robert Friedland was my successor as CEO, and he's driven the focus towards copper. His thesis, as you've seen with Ivanhoe, is that copper is going to be part of the technological revolution. So we're currently using our technology still in the United States and elsewhere to expedite exploration on our portfolio. Currently, we are private as Ivanhoe Electric, but our subsidiary companies, Kaizen Discovery, Cordoba Minerals, Sama Resources, Fiordland Exploration, those are all listed, and we own 60% of Cordoba. The history there, Chad, is that we supported Cordoba through multiple fundraisers during the very difficult times, 2017, 2018, 2019, when there was very little money available for projects globally. And that's why our current shareholding is so large. That is going to be a focus of the company going forward. At one point we were 80%, we've got ourselves back down to 60%, but there's still room for improvement there.
That's great. Thank you so much, Mark. Sarah, Mark, we're out of time, but thank you so much again for joining our conference and great presentation, and look forward to following up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks so much.